Hello and welcome to Stories for Sleepless Nights. I am Luna, and tonight we embark on a journey through history, mythology, nature, and many other fascinating topics, all designed to help you relax and gently drift off to sleep. Your comfort and peace are our greatest priorities. Before we begin our story, I invite you to share your thoughts. If there's a particular story, a historical figure, a mythical creature, or any topic that sparks your curiosity, and you'd like us to explore in a future episode, please let us know in the comments. Your suggestions help shape our adventures together. And if you enjoy these quiet journeys, please consider following us on Spotify and YouTube. It helps us reach more fellow travelers on the path to restful sleep. Tonight, our story takes us back to the heart of ancient Rome, to the life of a man whose name still echoes through the ages, Gaius Julius Caesar. He was a legendary Roman general, a shrewd politician, and a powerful statesman. His life, filled with triumphs and controversies, and his dramatic death, changed the course of Roman history forever. It was a pivotal moment, marking the shift from the Roman Republic to the mighty Roman Empire. Now, as we prepare to journey into Caesar's world, let's take a moment to settle in. Find a comfortable position, whether you are lying in bed or resting in a favorite chair. Gently close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling your chest and belly rise. Hold it for a moment, then slowly release the breath, letting go of any tension you might be holding. Take another deep breath, filling yourself with calm. And as you exhale, imagine any worries or thoughts from your day softly floating away. Allow your body to become heavy, sinking deeper into your bed or chair. Let your mind begin to quiet. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breathing, a steady, calming presence. With each breath, you are drifting closer to a peaceful sleep. Now let the story begin. Gaius Julius Caesar entered the world in 100 BCE. He was born into the gens Julia, an ancient and respected patrician family in Rome. Though noble, his family was not among the wealthiest or most powerful at the time. Rome was then a republic. It was a complex system of government. The Senate was a powerful advisory body made up of experienced former officials. The assemblies were where citizens voted on laws and elected their leaders. Magistrates were the officials who held executive power, like the consuls who led the republic each year. It was a world of intense political rivalry and ambition. Caesar's early life was shaped by powerful figures and dramatic events. His uncle by marriage was Gaius Marius, a celebrated general who had changed the Roman army and challenged the traditional power structure. Marius was a new man, meaning he came from outside the old noble families who usually held power. His political struggles with another powerful general, Sulla, led to a brutal civil war. When Sulla emerged victorious, he carried out what were called proscriptions. These were lists of his political enemies who could be killed without trial, and their property taken. Many people connected to Marius were put on these lists. Young Caesar, because of his family ties, was targeted. He narrowly escaped, fleeing from Rome and hiding in secret. Sulla eventually pardoned him, but told people to watch out for the young Caesar, seeing many Mariuses in him. This early experience taught Caesar much about survival and the harsh realities of Roman politics. His initial career steps took him away from Rome. He served in the military in Asia, gaining experience and showing his courage. An interesting event happened during his travels. While sailing, Caesar was captured by pirates. They demanded a ransom of 20 talents of silver for his release. Caesar reportedly laughed at them, telling them he was worth much more, at least 50 talents. During his captivity, he treated the pirates as if they were his subordinates, ordering them around and even reciting his poems and speeches to them. He boldly promised that once he was free, he would hunt them down and crucify them. After his ransom was paid and he was released, he kept his word. He quickly gathered a fleet, tracked down the pirates, and had them all crucified, showing his ruthless determination. After this adventure, Caesar went to Rhodes to study rhetoric, the art of public speaking. This was a crucial skill for any aspiring Roman politician. He learned to speak clearly and persuasively, which would serve him well in his political career. Back in Rome, he began his ascent up the political ladder. His first elected office was quaestor, a position that involved managing public money. Later, he became an aedile. Aediles were responsible for public buildings, markets, and organizing public games and festivals. Caesar poured huge amounts of his own money, and even more money he borrowed, into putting on spectacular games. These events were very popular with the common people, the plebeians, and helped him gain widespread recognition and support. At a surprisingly young age, Caesar achieved a major success. He was elected Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of Rome. This was a lifetime position, giving him great influence and prestige in religious matters, which were deeply intertwined with Roman politics. Caesar was quickly becoming very popular among the plebeians, who saw him as their champion. He understood how to win their loyalty, but his lavish spending on games and his political ambitions also meant he accumulated immense debts. These debts were a constant pressure, but also a powerful motivation to climb higher and gain more power. Caesar's growing popularity and immense debts meant he needed more power and resources. In 60 BCE, he formed a secret political alliance, known today as the First Triumvirate. This was not an official government body, but a private agreement between 3 of Rome's most powerful men. The members were Julius Caesar himself, Pompey the Great, and Marcus Licinius Crassus. Pompey was a celebrated military hero, famous for his many victories. Crassus was incredibly wealthy, having made a fortune in business and land. Each man had something the others needed. Caesar had the support of the common people. Pompey had military prestige and many loyal soldiers. Crassus had vast sums of money. Together, they could overcome the strong opposition they faced in the Senate. The Senate often tried to block their ambitions. This alliance allowed them to push through laws and appointments that benefited them all. As a result of this alliance, Caesar secured a powerful position. He was appointed proconsul of Cisalpine Gaul, which was northern Italy, Transalpine Gaul, which is modern-day southern France, and Illyricum, along the Adriatic coast. This appointment gave him a vast territory to govern, and crucially, a large army to command for 5 years. Caesar quickly used this opportunity to expand Rome's power and his own. The Gallic Wars began in 58 BCE and lasted until 50 BCE. The main reason for Roman intervention was to secure Rome's borders prevent Germanic tribes from migrating into Gaul. Caesar also saw it as a chance for military glory, wealth, and to build a loyal army. He led his legions into battle after battle, demonstrating incredible military genius. He moved his troops with surprising speed and used clever tactics to defeat various Gallic tribes. His campaigns were marked by decisive victories. One of the most famous conflicts was against Vercingetorix, a powerful chieftain who managed to unite many Gallic tribes against Rome. The turning point came with the siege of Alesia in 52 BCE. Caesar's army surrounded Vercingetorix and his forces within the fortified town of Alesia. But as the Romans laid siege, a massive Gallic relief army arrived, trapping Caesar's legions between two enemy forces. In an extraordinary feat of military engineering, Caesar built two sets of fortifications, one facing inward to contain Vercingetorix, and another facing outward to defend against the arriving Gallic army. The Roman soldiers fought bravely on both fronts. Eventually, Vercingetorix surrendered, marking a decisive victory for Caesar and effectively ending Gallic resistance. During these wars, Caesar wrote Commentarii de Bello Gallico, or commentaries on the Gallic War. This was a detailed account of his campaigns. It served as both a historical record and a powerful piece of propaganda. It showed Caesar as a brilliant and honorable general, justifying his actions to the Roman people and enhancing his reputation back home. From these wars, Caesar gained immense wealth through plunder and taxes from the conquered territories. He also forged an incredibly loyal army. His soldiers adored him, ready to follow him anywhere. However, back in Rome, the alliance began to fray. In 53 BCE, Crassus was killed in battle against the Parthians at Carrhae, in what is modern-day Turkey. With Crassus gone, the delicate balance of power was broken. The friendship between Caesar and Pompey began to turn into a bitter rivalry. Each man now saw the other as a threat to his own power and influence. The stage was set for a much greater conflict within Rome itself. After Crassus died, the strong bond between Caesar and Pompey turned into a bitter fight. Each great leader now saw the other as a threat. The Senate in Rome, mostly led by Pompey, grew very worried about Caesar's power. He had a huge, loyal army and had gained incredible wealth and fame from his victories in Gaul. The senators feared that Caesar wanted to become too powerful, perhaps even a king. They believed he was a danger to the Roman Republic. So, in 49 BCE, the Senate made a clear demand. They ordered Caesar to give up his army and return to Rome as a private citizen. This was a trap. If he came back without his legions, he would be powerless. He could be arrested and put on trial for his actions during the Gallic Wars. Caesar was camped with his army near a small river called the Rubicon. This river marked the border between his province of Cisalpine Gaul and Italy itself. Roman law was very clear. No general was allowed to bring his army across the Rubicon into Italy. To do so was an act of war against Rome. Caesar stood at the riverbank. He knew that crossing it meant civil war. He thought about his options for a long time. Then he made his choice. He gave the command to his soldiers. As they began to march across the shallow water, Caesar famously said, "Alia iacta est." This Latin phrase means the die is cast. It meant that the decision was made and there was no turning back. He had committed to a path from which he could not retreat. This act started the Roman Civil War. It was a fight between Caesar and his loyal legions against Pompey, the Senate, and their armies. Caesar moved swiftly. He marched his troops through Italy, taking city after city. Pompey and many senators did not expect such a quick move. They were not ready to defend Rome, so they fled across the Adriatic Sea to Greece, hoping to gather a larger army there. Caesar pursued them. The war spread across the Roman world. Key battles took place in different lands. The most important one was the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BCE, fought in Greece. Pompey had a much larger army with many more soldiers, but Caesar was a military genius. He used clever tactics, placing his troops in a way that surprised Pompey's forces. Caesar's soldiers fought with great courage and skill. They won a decisive victory. Pompey's army was completely defeated. Pompey himself managed to escape the battlefield. He fled by ship to Egypt, seeking safety with the young pharaoh Ptolemy XIII. Pompey hoped for help from the Egyptian king. However, Ptolemy's advisors saw a chance to gain favor with Caesar. As Pompey stepped onto the shore, he was betrayed and assassinated by royal agents. They cut off his head. When Caesar arrived in Egypt shortly after, expecting to face Pompey, he was instead presented with Pompey's head. Caesar was deeply saddened by the sight. Even though they had been rivals, they were once allies and family friends. Caesar showed no joy in his rival's death. With Pompey gone, Caesar was the most powerful man in the Roman world. He stayed in Egypt for a time, consolidating his power and settling political matters, which would have lasting effects on Rome. After his time in Egypt, Caesar returned to Rome. The civil war was mostly over, and he was the clear victor. The Senate, now under his strong influence, quickly gave him new powers. He was appointed dictator. In ancient Rome, a dictator was not a bad word. It was a special office. A dictator was chosen only in times of great emergency, like a war or a crisis. This person would hold total power for a short time, usually 6 months. The idea was to quickly solve the problem and then step down. But Caesar was different. He was first made dictator for a year, then for 10 years. Then, in 44 BCE, he was made dictator for life. This was called Dictator Perpetuo. This move broke all the old rules of the Roman Republic. It showed that Caesar planned to keep power for good, not just for an emergency. With this great power, Caesar began many changes. He made many lasting reforms. One of the most famous was the Julian Calendar. The old Roman calendar was very confusing and often wrong. It did not match the seasons. Caesar worked with astronomers to create a new calendar. It had 365 days in a year, with an extra day every 4 years, just like our leap year today. This calendar was so good that it was used for over 1,600 years. And it is still the basis for the calendar we use now. Caesar also worked to make Rome bigger and stronger. He gave Roman citizenship to many people living in the provinces, especially in Gaul. This meant they had the same rights as people born in Rome. This helped to bring different parts of the Roman world closer together. He also helped the poor and his soldiers. He started land reform programs. He gave land to many of his veterans, his loyal soldiers who had fought for him. He also gave land to poor Roman citizens. This helped many people and made them happy with Caesar. He also made laws to help people with their debts, which was a big problem for many Romans. To improve Rome itself, Caesar started many large public building projects. He ordered new roads to be built, new buildings to go up, and old ones to be repaired. These projects did two important things. They made Rome a grander city, and they gave many poor Romans jobs. People could work and earn money, which helped the whole city. He also changed the Senate. He increased the number of senators from about 300 to 900. Many of these new senators were his supporters, including men from the provinces. This made the Senate less powerful and more willing to agree with Caesar's plans. It also meant that the old Roman families had less say. Caesar's actions showed his growing ambition. He seemed to care less and less about the old traditions of the Republic. Many Romans worried that he wanted to be a king. He lived in a very grand style. He celebrated his military victories with huge, lavish parades called triumphs. These parades were amazing to see. His soldiers marched through the streets, showing off the treasures they had captured. Prisoners of war were led in chains. Crowds cheered loudly for their victorious general. These triumphs were meant to show everyone Caesar's incredible power and success. But for some, they also showed how far he was moving from the simple ways of the Republic. Even as Caesar solidified his power in Rome, his gaze also turned to the east. After defeating Pompey, Caesar had followed him to Egypt, where he became deeply involved in the kingdom's affairs. Egypt at this time was ruled by the Ptolemaic family, a dynasty founded by one of Alexander the Great's generals. The throne was held by Cleopatra VII, a clever and ambitious queen, and her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. They were supposed to rule together, but they were in a fierce civil war against each other. Each wanted full control of Egypt. When Caesar arrived in Egypt, he found himself in the middle of this family struggle. He needed to make sure Egypt remained stable, as it was very important to Rome. Cleopatra, fearing her brother's influence and wanting to gain Caesar's support, needed to meet Caesar in secret. The story goes that she was rolled up in a large rug and carried past her brother's guards. The rug was then unrolled at Caesar's feet. This dramatic entrance quickly caught his attention. Caesar and Cleopatra formed a strong alliance. She saw him as a way to secure her throne, and he saw her as a key to Egypt's vast wealth. Their relationship was not only political, but also personal. They spent many months together in Egypt. They even had a son, whom they named Caesarion, meaning Little Caesar. Later, Cleopatra traveled to Rome to visit Caesar, bringing their young son. She lived in Caesar's private villa, just outside the city. Her presence caused a great stir among the Roman people and the Senate. Romans were not used to their leaders openly having relationships with foreign queens, especially one who dressed in Egyptian style and was seen as a monarch. This fueled rumors and fears that Caesar was becoming too much like an Eastern king, rather than a Roman republican leader. Egypt was very important to Rome. It was known as the breadbasket of the Roman world, supplying much of the grain that fed Rome's large population. Its immense wealth, especially from the Nile River's fertile lands, was also a huge draw. Controlling Egypt meant great power and resources for Rome. Caesar's close ties with Cleopatra and his apparent liking for her royal ways made many Romans uneasy. The Roman Republic was built on the idea of not having kings. Caesar's actions, from his dictatorship for life to his relationship with an Eastern queen, made many believe he wanted to be a king himself. This growing suspicion would have serious consequences. Caesar's growing power and his increasing disregard for the old ways of the Republic caused great worry among many Roman senators. His relationship with Cleopatra, which made him seem like an Eastern king, only made these fears worse. Even some of Caesar's former allies felt he had gone too far. They believed he was destroying the very republic they all cherished. A secret group began to form. Its main leaders were Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. Brutus had a long family history tied to the Republic, and he was even a friend of Caesar. Cassius was also a respected senator. These men, along with many others, grew to resent Caesar's absolute rule. They worried that by making himself dictator for life, Caesar wanted to become a king. This was something the Romans had fought against for centuries. Some also had personal grudges. or simply saw a chance to gain power themselves. They decided that the only way to save the Republic was to remove Caesar. The day they chose for this terrible act was March 15, 44 BCE. This date is famously known as the Ides of March. Caesar had been warned to be careful on this day. His wife, Calpurnia, even had a bad dream and begged him not to go to the Senate. But Caesar ignored these warnings. On that fateful day, Caesar went to a meeting of the Senate. The meeting was held in a large hall that was part of a grand theater complex built by Pompey, Caesar's former rival. As Caesar entered, senators rose to greet him. The conspirators, numbering around 60 men, were hidden among them. They slowly moved closer to Caesar. As Caesar took his seat, one senator stepped forward, pretending to make a request. He grabbed Caesar's toga, pulling it down from his shoulders. This was the signal. Suddenly, daggers flashed. Caesar was struck first by one conspirator, then another. He tried to fight back, but he was surrounded. He received many stab wounds, more than 20 in all. History remembers the words, et tu, Brute, meaning, and you, Brutus, though whether Caesar truly spoke them remains debated. Yet the phrase perfectly captures the deep betrayal he must have felt from a man he had once protected and favored. Caesar fell at the base of a statue of Pompey, his once great enemy. Immediately after the assassination, chaos erupted in the Senate House. The other senators, not part of the plot, fled in terror, running out into the streets. The conspirators, their daggers still bloody, walked out into the Roman Forum. They held up their weapons and shouted about freedom and the restoration of the Republic. They expected the Roman people to cheer them, to celebrate the tyrant's death. But instead, the streets fell silent. The Roman populace was not joyful. They were scared and confused. The conspirators had gravely miscalculated how much the common people actually admired Caesar, and how much they feared the instability that would surely follow. The chaos that followed Caesar's death was immediate and profound. The conspirators, who had believed they would be hailed as heroes, quickly realized their mistake. The Roman people were not grateful for Caesar's removal. Instead, they were shocked, fearful, and soon angry. The assassination did not restore the Republic. It plunged Rome into a new, even bloodier, period of civil war. Three main figures rose to prominence in the power vacuum. First were the conspirators themselves, Marcus Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, who tried to rally support for the old republic. Second was Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal second-in-command and co-consul, who sought to avenge his fallen leader and claim power for himself. And third was a surprising figure, Gaius Octavius, Caesar's grandnephew, a young man of only 18 years old. When Caesar's will was read, it was revealed that he had adopted Octavius as his son and made him his principal heir. This unexpected turn meant the young Octavius, now known as Octavian, suddenly possessed immense wealth and a powerful claim to Caesar's political legacy. Octavian, despite his youth, proved to be incredibly astute and determined. He quickly formed an uneasy alliance with Mark Antony and another powerful general, Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. This alliance, known as the Second Triumvirate, was different from Caesar's first. It was an official, legal body, given immense power by the Roman state. Their immediate goal was clear: to hunt down and defeat the conspirators. The armies of the Second Triumvirate clashed with the forces of Brutus and Cassius in Greece at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE. In two fierce engagements, the conspirators were decisively defeated, and both Brutus and Cassius took their own lives. With their enemies gone, the members of the triumvirate divided the Roman world among themselves. However, this peace was short-lived. The alliance soon fractured. Lepidus was sidelined, and the struggle for ultimate power came down to Octavian and Mark Antony. Antony had allied himself closely with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, just as Caesar had done. Their forces met in a monumental naval battle at Actium in 31 BCE. Octavian's fleet crushed Antony and Cleopatra's ships. Antony and Cleopatra fled to Egypt, where they both chose to end their own lives rather than fall into Octavian's hands. With all rivals eliminated, Octavian became the undisputed master of the Roman world. He carefully and cleverly consolidated his power. While pretending to restore the Republic, he slowly gathered all authority into his own hands. In 27 BCE, the Senate bestowed upon him the title of Augustus, meaning the revered one, This moment is widely seen as the official end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Octavian, now known as Augustus, achieved what Caesar had seemingly aimed for: a centralized, single-person rule. But he did so with far greater political skill and subtlety. He truly fulfilled Caesar's implicit vision for Rome. Caesar's influence, even after his death, was immense and long-lasting. His military strategies and tactics became models for generals for centuries. His writings, especially his commentaries on the Gallic Wars, are still studied today not just for history, but also as masterpieces of clear and direct Latin prose. Politically, his actions set a clear path for the transition from republic to empire, forever altering the course of Roman and Western history. His name itself became a symbol of supreme power. The title Caesar was adopted by subsequent Roman emperors. Later, it transformed into titles like Kaiser for the emperors of Germany and Tsar for the emperors of Russia, carrying the echo of his legendary authority across continents and through time. Julius Caesar was a truly complex figure, a brilliant general who led his legions to incredible victories, a charismatic leader who inspired fierce loyalty in his soldiers and captivated the common people, and a ruthless politician willing to challenge all traditions to achieve his aims. He was a controversial man, loved by many, feared and hated by others, whose life and death irrevocably changed the world he lived in. His multifaceted impact continues to invite reflection on the nature of power, ambition, and the forces that shape history. Now, as our story of Julius Caesar comes to a close, it is time for you to gently move your awareness back to your own body. Let us take a moment to prepare for deep and peaceful sleep. Begin by noticing your toes. Feel them resting inside your socks or against the covers. Simply observe them without needing to change anything. Then, slowly move your attention up to the soles of your feet, feeling the gentle pressure against the bed. Allow your awareness to drift to your ankles, then to your calves, and then to your knees. Feel the weight of your legs, heavy and relaxed. Continue moving your awareness upwards to your thighs and then to your hips. Notice any tension in these areas and allow it to soften and release. let your attention move to your belly, feeling the gentle rise and fall with each breath you take. Then, bring your awareness to your chest, feeling the steady rhythm of your heart. Move your focus to your shoulders. Often, we carry a lot of tension here. Imagine any tightness melting away, letting your shoulders drop down and back. Let your awareness flow down your arms, through your elbows, to your forearms, and into your hands and fingers. Feel the heaviness of your arms resting beside you. Finally, bring your attention to your neck and then to your head. Feel the back of your head resting on your pillow. Relax your jaw, your forehead, and the muscles around your eyes. Allow your entire body to feel heavy and completely at ease. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Stories for Sleepless Nights. I truly hope it helped you find a moment of calm, away from your daily thoughts, and that it guides you into a deep and restful sleep. Remember, you can find Stories for Sleepless Nights on Spotify and YouTube. If there is a particular story or topic you would like to hear about in a future episode, please feel free to share it in the comment box. I am Luna, and I hope to join you again very soon for another story. Until then, good night.